The first bill that we're going to take up is Senate Bill 217, establishing a rule and I need my glasses, an underserved area educator incentive program for higher education and making an appropriation therefore.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Senator Fenton,
I would move ought to pass. And I'd be happy to speak to my motion.
you need a second. Do you want to second it? And then he can speak to it.
Sure, 1 second.
You may speak to your motion.
I think this is an important bill. Madam Chair, as you and I have realized and seen, we sit on the Teacher Shortage Commission, and we've heard from teachers, school administrators, about how important a loan repayment incentive plan was and how necessary it is to help keep educators in the profession, especially when we are desperately in need of teachers. We're hemorrhaging teachers to other states. Individuals aren't getting into the profession because they're saddled with debt. I think it's such a necessary program to truly help our public educators, especially attract and retain teachers to this.
Senator Gendro, do you have something you want to add to it?
I don't.
I know Senator Prentice, you just came in.
We're talking about
219, yes, the underserved. And I'm looking at the original bill.
217, yeah.
I've spoken on the Senate floor in
Yeah.
favor of this, and what my microphone on, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, is that in my history of living and working in New Hampshire, I have never seen help wanted signs in front of schools and fire stations, and there's a reason for this. And we know we have this committee that has been working and has filed their report for teachers basically dealing with educator shortages. So this is one of the ways that we bring people in and we keep them in the system. And I appreciate and applaud Senator Fenton's work in this area. So yes, that's that. Thank you.
So we have these other bills at the same time with the teacher shortage and the incentives to keep them. And my feeling is just that there are so many things going on at this point. What do we really want to do and what can we do at this point without stepping on all the other bills that we have coming up?
So why don't I make this recommendation, Madam Chair? Why don't we send it to the House so that we don't lose this bill, so we don't lose this tool in our arsenal for something like this? And if there are more of these bills that keep popping up, or more of these, if it's a little confusing, the House certainly can take a peek at it as well, and we can go from there.
So this bill establishes the Rural and Underserved Area Educator Incentive Program and makes an appropriation therefore. In the teacher shortage bill, we talk about what needs to be done, incentives for helping them pay their loans, maybe get money, get salary while they are doing student teaching. We're talking about housing help. And for that, I think the state has already put in a program to help with a housing shortage and to help pay for those kinds of accommodations. So it's just a lot of things going on at the same time. And I'm just wondering if we can somehow consolidate the whole thing and come up with something that, how is it going to be done?
I think, that's a great point. This bill, I believe, does have to go to finance still.
Yep.
So there'll be another crack at this. And I think, like I said, the more tools we have, the better it is. I mean, dealing with housing is a fantastic thing. Dealing with loan repayment is a great thing as well. Dealing with maybe your auto insurance would be another great aspect. I don't think, in a case with something like this, there's never too many, because we're dealing with such an important issue as our educators. And frankly, we heard from educators that we need more help to support them. We're losing them to other states. They're not getting in the profession. And I I think this could really help bolster our teachers.
I'm smiling because you mentioned automobile insurance and knowing that you're in the automobile
I
industry.
just thought I'd throw that out there.
Wait a minute, what is,
I'm okay if you have an amendment, you know?
So,
do we have I know I was late. Do we have a motion yet, or we're just open for discussion? What's the motion?
Ought to pass.
Okay.
Senator Fannin made the motion and it's on the agenda, we're just discussing it, so.
If I may, Madam Chair, I'll just,
Yes, go ahead.
offer that I know that there are other initiatives that I wouldn't consider them competing, I would consider them complementing each other, but that there are multiple bites at the apple that still have to take place, and to stop this here, I think could be a disservice. I think we should put, move forward on all of these areas, because finance still has to look at this, the House would still have to look at this, like, I would, I'm in favor of this, and so I'll just stop there. We have other bites at the apple. That's my 10 cents.
Okay. Yes, I think there's no question that we need to do something for our teachers. By looking at the salary scale, they're not in the top layer of people getting a decent salary. But we also have other situations, for example, with the nurses and the healthcare people. They are also desperately in need of help, both financial and with housing and loan repayment. So I will go ahead and we can certainly let this pass and send it on to finance. And then they can take a look at it and see what is possible and what is not. Because we have a lot of competing issues at this point.
I would agree.
Okay. So we have 217.
Madam Chair, I may make just one amendment change. We may have to change the effective date because we've held this bill for a little bit.
Okay, where do you see that?
Yeah, committee amendment. We'd have to change the effective date by a year from July 1st, 23 to 2024.
Okay. 10/25, we had that, change the date to 60 days after passage?
Correct.
Okay. You got that?
Yeah. Do we want to finish the ought to pass motion and then we can move
Yes.
on to the
Yes.
committee amendment? Yep.
So we have an ought to pass motion that has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? No, so we have, this is what? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. And who wants to take it out?
I can take it out.
Okay. Okay, good. That takes care of 217. We have 219, relative to a salary floor for public school teachers. Did you get any response from Timothy Lang? Senator Prentice?
I'd like a motion to ITL, and I'd be happy to speak to my motion if I get a second.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion to ITL and a second. Senator Prentice?
All along, I have been concerned about this particular bill for, two reasons. One, most importantly, is, there are collective bargaining agreements and relationships that are in place with local schools and school boards that we would be literally getting in the middle of, and I don't think that's where we want to be. And second to that is this language around how many administrators and then pinpointing or pointing out diversity, equity, and inclusion staff members. It feels that I'm not comfortable with that. I think we need to leave this up to the local school boards to make these kinds of decisions. And, but, I do think that's up to them. And quite honestly, this bucks right up against what we've just been talking about, which is, the primary, what I understood about this being brought forward is that we want to make sure that we pay school teachers more. And I agree with that. But those decisions have to be handled at the local level, and it makes me uncomfortable I'm totally supportive of paying the teachers more, but at the same time, I'm not supportive of starting to get in the middle of those local agreements and then targeting certain positions. So that's why I want to ITL this. Thank you.
Any other input?
Go ahead, Carrie.
I think, I believe it would give the labor unions a major bargaining chip in raising salaries statewide, which would then have major implications on taxpayers. So I would say I'd support the ITL.
Any other input? So we have a motion to ITL, and we have a second for it. All those in favor of ITL?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So that's another 4 ITL. 4-0. Do you want to take it out and send the Prentice?
I'd be happy to.
Good.
Pete, are you the blurb writer? Okay.
Okay. Now we have HB 572, relative to eligibility for free school meals.
I'll
Senator
make a
Prentice?
motion. I ought to pass,
Second it.
and I'd be happy to speak to my motion.
What was your motion?
Ought to pass.
Oh, we have a second. You want to speak to your motion?
I'd be happy to. Number one, I think we should do everything we can to feed hungry children. And children can't, we've heard this time and time again, if their stomach is empty, then spending time in the classroom, it's just, it's lost upon them because the pain of hunger is there. But so I want to make that clear. The second thing is that, we've heard this concern about that this might affect the school funding formula, but then we received an email from, I think it's from Hunger Solutions,
Yeah.
that
I saw that.
actually pointed out how this doesn't impact the school funding formula. So, I actually think that we should move ahead with this. That's my opinion. Okay, thank you.
Any other input?
I would agree with Senator Prentice. We know that there are children going hungry today, and this bill closes that gap and provides meals for these individuals. And we also learn that children learn better when they're fed. I'm sure we all feel the same way when we eat before committee. And I think it's so important that we provide for these children, and we learn that it's not going to affect the formula. So I think we should move forward with this.
Okay. And I'm looking at the analysis. The bill increases the eligibility for free school meals to household members up to 300% of federal poverty guidelines. And that seems to be a guideline for other things as well. So we'll go ahead with this one. Ought to pass is what I heard. With the second.
Yes.
All those in favor of ought to pass?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0. And I'll take that out. I'll take that one out.
I think you made a record.
That takes care of the 3 bills that we had to deal with today. Thank you very much, all of you, for coming.
Thank you, Madam
And
Chair.
we'll see what happens after this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair Ward. Do you have the canned rule? Do you